In this video, I will show you how you can find the best SEO keywords for your website. I will show you how you can study the search intent, so what people are searching for, so that you understand the current informational demand using the visual keyword analysis tool in Nodus that I developed. How you can also use the same tool to study the current informational supply, so what exists out there on the market, and how you can use those insights to understand the patterns of what people are searching for and what they find, how you can find the gaps inside, so that in turn you can generate some really interesting keywords that you can use to target your content to the right audience, or to also create the content that would be potentially interesting for your customers and readers. So keep watching if you want to learn how it works. A little bit about myself, I'm Dimitri, I'm the developer of Nodus, and I actually run a few websites and blogs, and I use those same strategies to promote my tools and my research to people, and it worked quite well, so I'm just sharing my insights. And if you find this content interesting, please subscribe to this channel so that this video can get recommended to other people interested in the same stuff. So let's jump in. In this example, I'm gonna try to understand what keywords I should use for a new project I'm working on, which is a range of tools for SaaS owners. So this is a tool that, for example, calculates lifetime value of the customer. I will leave a link to this tool below also so you can check it out. But basically, I need to get some organic traffic here. So I need to understand what are the keywords that I should use to promote this website. And not only that, but also what kind of content I could create to get the right audience in. So this is what we will be doing today, and this is what I will be using Nodus for. If you don't know what Nodus is, it's a visual text analysis tool that visualizes any text as a network graph that shows you the main concepts inside, how they're connected, so that lets you see the patterns of interconnections between different search terms, and it's much better than using spreadsheets because you understand not only which keywords people use or which keywords exist in the content, but also in which combinations they're used and what are the topical clusters they form. So you get a much better contextual understanding of search intent and the current informational supply. To begin, I'm gonna use an app which is called Keyword Research inside Nodus. So when you go to the apps page, you can open Study a Market page, and then you type in the search query that you would like to study. In my case, it's going to be SaaS tools, because that's kind of like the general topic of the website I'm working on. And here I'm going to go to informational demand, and I'm going to use related search queries. So this is what I will be searching for here. I want to see what are the search queries that people use when they search for SaaS tools. I will create a new graph here. I can specify that I want the users in the US, in English, and then I click visualize. And what happens is that Nodus imports suggested search queries. So that's the thing that you see on Google when you search for something. What are the things that people are searching for when they search for this topic? It visualizes it as a graph. It removes the search terms from the graph so I can see the context around. And that gives me a really good understanding of what else people search for when they search for SaaS tools. And that already gives me a really good information for the keywords I could use to promote my website or to create new content for that website. So for example, here, if I'm talking about SaaS tools, I see that people are looking at project management, for instance. This is one combination. I see here it's quite a strong link, and those words are bigger on the graph, so that means they have higher influence. And then another thing that they're searching for is also companies, small companies. So when I click on that, I can see in which context it's used. Small SaaS companies. So people are also searching something about small SaaS companies and also something about micro businesses for small businesses, micro SaaS examples for small businesses. So once I get those insights, in fact, what I can do is that I can save them to my project notes, just not to forget them. So I'm going to type in here micro business, and I'm going to save them to notes here. This is saved into my project notes, which are available here in Nodus. And then I will also choose project management, and I will also save that because that was actually not so evident to me that people who search for SaaS tools also search for project management. So maybe I could write an article about various project management tools for my website and then attract organically audience who are also interested in this stuff as well. And then also companies, small companies. So there was something about small B2B, small SaaS companies. So this I'm also going to save into my notes. All right. What you can also do in Nodus is to actually see what are the most popular searches. So when you go here, you have the filters of how many searches per month people do for certain combinations of keywords. So here I'm going to select the top ones. There's not so much. I think it's just SaaS tools which I removed, which they're searching for a lot. But for example, when we talk about 100 to 1000 searches per month, we see that there's something about cloud. So let's see, computing cloud, in cloud computing. So that's interesting because that's quite a specific thing that is maybe a topic that could be potentially interesting to my customers. And then some low-key searches, so to say, they're the ones that I just saved. So that gives me an idea that, okay, maybe I should go for a little bit higher volume. Like now I identified the stuff that people search for, but maybe not so much, but that can be good because there's less competition, so I will still target them. But now I'm going to add some more queries. So for example, here I'm just going to say like, all right, let's see what people search for when they search for SaaS in general, right? So I'm generalizing the queries, and then I'm adding more suggested search queries for this topic to see what they're searching for. Directly tools. So this is something that's used a lot, which confirms to me that I should be using SaaS tools a lot. In fact, let me save this into the graph also. So I'm just going to add this in as an idea. And by the way, you don't have an ending of SaaS here because Nodus cuts off the words to bring them to their lemmas, but that doesn't change the results because in the end, this is a node that represents SaaS. So SaaS tools is quite a strong connection. And even if I go to the many searches per month, I can see that actually they're searching quite a lot for SaaS and software, for instance, right? So that is also something I should be saving into the system so that I can later target this with the right content. But for now, I'm going to remove those nodes because I understand that they're searching for SaaS tools. So I'm going to select them and hide them. And then I look at the other patterns that emerge. And I can switch off the high-level ideas. So these are AI-generated topics for the clusters. And I can see that a lot of them are about management platforms. Not so relevant to my particular use case, but that could be an interesting audience to attract. So I'm going to save this into the system. I can actually save into notes all these analytical insights here, you see, and then they're saved here. So I get like a general idea of the main content. But then I will start looking at more details. So for example, management platform, I already know, but there's something about business and Reddit. So let's see what is the combination here. SaaS business ideas Reddit. So people go to Reddit a lot to look for some SaaS business ideas. So that's great because in fact, what I could do here is to write something about various SaaS business ideas. Actually, here's the word idea here. And maybe I would also attract the audience this way, and I could post it on Reddit to also get the people who are interested in this stuff from Reddit. So I'm going to save it here and continue researching. And for instance, here I have another cluster. So I kind of go through the clusters and patterns that I identify, which I find interesting both to myself as an interesting content, but also something that's more prominent on the graph. So I'm looking at the bigger stuff first to understand what could be interesting for me to focus on. And then, for example, here, developing SaaS-based enterprise tools, but this is kind of like a very long keyword, and I think it's more about searching for a job in the area. So there I'm not going to look at. And once I get some insights here, what I can do is to select some of the stuff I already know and hide them from the graph so that I let the other stuff come up first. So for example, here, there's a topic of money that comes in a lot. And if I want to see what else money is connected to, I can either see it on the graph by selecting it, or I can go to keyword relations here and see that these are the main words it's connected to. So for example, money and business is quite a prominent connection in the search queries. How to start SaaS business with no money, with no money, with no money. Okay, so that's interesting because if I would like to attract people who are interested in this, I could perhaps also write an article on starting a business with no money and then add it to the keywords of my website. So this would be one approach that I could use in order to get the right audience in. So that would be how I studied the informational demand. I would iteratively import more and more search queries here, build a graph, analyze what I'm seeing, remove the stuff that I understand, wait for some interesting patterns to emerge that I was not aware of, and then go into them more and more. So for example, here, PaaS, I don't even know what that is. It's probably product as service, and that's another kind of target audience I can focus on. So let me actually save that because that's pretty interesting. I'll just save pass here, and then I will make this graph my favorite so that I don't lose track of it later. I will leave it aside for now, and now I'm going to go into studying the informational supply. So what exists out there on the market. In order to do this, I go to the apps page, study market, SaaS tools. I start from a little bit more specific examples, and then I choose this informational supply, Google search results. Now I'm gonna get the Google search results from for Nodus. So I'm gonna get the results for the search query, SaaS tools, and visualize what actually exists out there on the market when people search for SaaS tools. And that will give me an idea of what already exists. And my point will be to kind of cover the territory, but do it in a way that makes new interesting connections between the different clusters identified. Because then Google will think that what I'm offering, the keywords that I'm offering, the content that I'm offering, it has this additional informational gain that other content doesn't have. And so it kind of offers something new to this current discourse. And here I see that, of course, people use a lot of words like software, business, applications, and so on. So that's kind of obvious, but let's remove this top layer. So I can click this button and it's just going to cut off the top layer of keywords and show me what's hiding underneath until I get to the stuff that are really interesting and relevant to me. So for example, product base, let's see on high level, what are the main topics here. So it's something about growth dynamics, team insights, data integration, service evolution. It kind of seems to me directly that the content that people search, that they get when they search for SaaS tools is a bit more enterprise focused. And there's not so much stuff for small businesses from the topics I'm seeing. So that could be one insight that I could also write down here, make more content for small businesses on SaaS. Because I studied the informational demand, I understand that a lot of people are looking for how to start SaaS business with no money. They're looking for tools for SaaS businesses, micro enterprises. But the stuff that we see when we get the search results seems to be for already kind of bigger companies that are more interested in how to accentuate their growth, how to get insights into their team, data integration, and so on. So it's kind of like bigger topics, right? And there I can cut off the layer again and see what else is hiding underneath. So for example, here I'm getting to the startup stuff, but on a much lower level. So that means it's kind of hidden underneath. But that's a good thing for me because it means if I'm making a content for startups, I will probably fit into the existing discourse in an interesting way because I will touch upon the topics that people already talk about, but I should do it in a way that connects them in a new way. So this is how I'm gonna try to do that. I'm gonna look at this cluster here, startup dynamics, and see what are the gaps with other clusters. And to do that, I can go to the blind spots here and ask to highlight the gaps and kind of see when I reach this gap here with the startups. So for example, startup dynamics and project management is not so much connected. So that could be like an interesting thing to focus on. Then another one that I'm seeing is here. Let me see, data insights. So that could be very interesting because you see these are two clusters, but they only have a few common connectors. So that could be an interesting thing, how I can provide additional data insights for startups. So I'm going to write this down as an idea, provide additional data insights for startups. And that would be the approach that I would use. I would just look at the main topics, reiterate, and find some interesting combinations and gaps that others are not aware of. But what I'm going to do as the next step now is to try to overlay these two graphs, the graph of informational supply and demand. So I understand what people are searching for that they don't yet find. And to do this, I will get all those words that I removed back into the graph. So we see the full version, and then I go to the graph comparison feature here, and I say, okay, show me how this graph is different from the previous one that I made, which was the search intent. And then I click visualize, and what happens here, it shows me what people are searching for. So here it shows me difference in keywords, but not in the search results. All right, and that it's very important to note here is that it's not the words that people use when they search for something that they don't find. No, it's the connections that they don't find. So for example, if I click on SaaS, Of course, you will find stuff on SaaS tools. This is why tool is not highlighted here, because it's the connections which are highlighted. So I'm going to remove SaaS tools, actually, because we want to see more latent patterns underneath. And then we will see that, for instance, they search a lot for software definition we're not interested in, because this is not the audience we want, but maybe product, startup products. So SaaS product for startups, great. So this is my hunch that is confirmed now by data analysis, that people search for SaaS products for startups, but they don't find so much content. So this is something I should really focus on when I create content, when I create keywords. I'm going to actually use this combination of words a lot, startup products. So here is also why Nodus is quite helpful, because you can actually focus not on the single words, but rather on combinations. So that can be pretty cool, and that will kind of make your strategy stand out from the rest, because the rest will just use the spreadsheets and keywords, single keywords maybe. And here you're really focusing on the combinations by looking at the patterns that people use when they search for something. So startup products is one thing, and then another one is maybe top company. So top companies we're not so interested in, because we're not making a directory, but SaaS platform, management platform. So let's see SaaS platform example. So that could be interesting, because actually people search for platform. Yeah, let's actually save platform into the notes as well, because that can be interesting for us. So we have some ideas here that we need to focus on startups and platform in this graph. And then in the previous one that we had in the keywords one, I'm going to open it here. We also had some ideas on micro business, project management company, tool, and so on, right? So this is how we would do this research, get those ideas in, that we need to focus on some project management stuff, small businesses, startups, and so on. So these will be the keywords that we try to use for this website, and also the content that we create is going to be focused on SaaS tools for startups, micro businesses, small companies, and so on, because that seems to be where an underserved niche is. And then later we can expand to the bigger stuff. But we will focus on those smaller ones first, because there will be less competition there. The market seems to be underserved, so it seems like a good idea. One last thing I want to demonstrate is that you can actually use our browser extension in order to do the same kind of research. So if you go on Google, for instance, and you do a search on SaaS tools, in fact, what you can do, if you have the Nodus plugin, which I have here, let me show you. So I'm going to activate it. And what Nodus does is that it visualizes the current page as a graph and shows you also a combination of keywords. So this is also a great way to understand the current informational supply, because I see directly the same graph that I was analyzing on that page. I can also see the main topics inside. So I see that a lot of them are focusing on AI insights, project tools, cloud solutions, and so on. But I can also go to the websites of my competitors. So somebody who's writing about SaaS tools, for instance. Let's see if there's something interesting. So for example, here, a list of SaaS tools, right? That's probably some company which has a blog where they are writing about SaaS tools to attract this audience. So let me analyze what they're writing about. So I'm going to click on the extension, and then it's going to visualize the content of that page as a graph and show me what are the main keywords that they're focusing on. And maybe I will also get some inspiration from here. So I see that they're actually pretty cool, because they're already using this time management, project management stuff. So that confirms my hypothesis that it's a topic that is also interesting, project management for SaaS tools. And maybe if I want to attract this audience, I should also focus on that. But what are they not focusing on? So I'm going to go to the gaps here, and then it's going to show me some gaps between the topics that they mention in this article, but that they don't really connect. And for instance, here, there's a topic between engagement metrics and business tools. So they're talking about various business tools, and they're talking about some engagement metrics, but there doesn't seem so much link between them. So I could attract this audience that is missing on this gap by focusing both on business tools and engagement metrics. So for example, what are the business tools that we can use to measure engagement, right? So then I'm going to go actually back here and write it into my ideas, business tools to measure engagement. Let me check business tools to measure engagement. Yeah, so I'm gonna save this, and then I'm also gonna, just not to forget, startups, SaaS, platforms, SaaS. I'm gonna save all these ideas, and then, you know, eventually I can just generate an outline from those notes using the built-in AI, and it kind of generates an outline of an article for me with a title, which I can then plug into some other tool, like a SEO article writer tool, for instance, that would generate a whole article for me. And that would be the beginning of me attracting this audience, but with the stuff that are highly relevant, because I'm basing this both on what they're searching for and also on what other people are missing. So that is kind of like the key thing that you can take out from this demonstration, is that really this approach is based on understanding what people search for and what the other content creators are missing. And then you're getting those keywords and combinations and create new articles based on that. And you're kind of doing good for everyone here, because you're actually serving what others are not serving. So you're adding something to the information that exists out there. And you're also contributing in a sort of innovative way, because you're really focusing on the stuff that people need, but that they don't yet find. So that's really great, because the customers are really happy in the end with what you do. And with this extension, you can analyze the existing websites and kind of see what other gaps that they're missing. So that would be another approach that you could use to understand, you know, what is what should be created more. And in fact, I used it a lot myself for our own blog, Nodus Labs, which has pretty high positions on various keywords, and also for the blog on Nodus itself. So it has this section on the different topics, and this was how I attracted audience without having any in the first place at the beginning, just focusing on those gaps. And they were actually very interesting gaps, also quite specific sometimes, but you attract highly specialist audience who are really interested in intelligent analysis, who don't just want the results, but who want to work with very interesting tools. So it's also great because you're attracting great people like that as well, and they in turn give you feedback and encourage you to improve your product. So it's really a win-win situation and a strategy, and it worked really well for me. So I hope you'll also find it useful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments to this video, and also please try out this workflow. If you don't remember how it works, you can always go to the workflow here at the top right corner of Nodus and just follow those steps. And once you complete them, you will get the results from the analysis that you need. And also, if you have any questions, let me know and I will be happy to help. Thank you.